Ever driven past one of those, skyscrapers going up and thought, how they even... Well, today we're diving into the world of the people who make that happen, crane technicians. We've got some really cool excerpts here from RoleCatcher.com all about this career path.
And it's way more than just like putting Legos together on a huge scale. These are the folks that are making sure these monster machines that literally lift our cities into the sky are working as they should.
Okay, so for those of us who don't speak crane, what does a crane technician actually do all day?
Picture this. Construction sites, harbors, factories, you name it, it's go time. They're the ones wrestling those massive crane components into place, installing the conveyors, the control systems, the whole shebang, and getting those cranes ready to move mountains, or at least, a building's worth of steel.
Wow, mountains of steel.
I mean,
That's a lot of pressure. So it's not just about muscle, right? You need some serious brain power for this gig.
oh, absolutely. And we're not talking one and done. Maintaining those mechanical behemoths is just as crucial. Inspections, troubleshooting electrical gremlins, making sure everything's up to code. Safety's a big deal when you're dealing with that kind of weight.
That makes that little detail in the guide about how crane operation is a team effort really stand out. Communication must be key when the stakes are that high.
You're telling me. And speaking of high stakes, the guide does a great job of breaking down the career path from entry level all the way to like the top dog, senior crane technician.
Okay, so say someone's hooked on this whole crane technician thing.
Mm.
What's the path look like from newbie to seasoned pro?
Okay, so imagine this. You start out assisting the experienced techs, handing them tools, learning the ropes. It's all about soaking up knowledge, getting that hands-on experience.
Apprenticeships, right. That hands-on experience seems to be key, just like the guide says.
You got it. Then, as you level up, you move into a junior crane technician role. More responsibility, more independence, more, how do we solve this moment?
Less fetching, more fixing.
Exactly. Now you're assembling entire crane components solo, wrangling those conveyor systems, even playing a key role in that final on-site assembly.
I bet that first solo assembly feels amazing. You're not just building a crane, you're building a career. Okay, but what about reaching the peak? Senior crane technician. What sets those folks apart?
It's about being the go-to guru, the one everyone turns to when there's a head-scratcher. You're leading teams, mentoring those less experienced techs. Your insights are shaping how things get done. Talk about dedication and constant learning.
Sounds like there's a real art to it, like a sixth sense for how these machines work.
Yeah.
So let's say someone's thinking this is my jam. What's RoleCatcher's advice on actually landing a job in this field?
Well, get this, they're not just a career guide, they're like a crane career coach. They've got this whole platform geared towards helping you snag that dream job. They even have, get this, AI-powered resume analysis.
Hold on, AI resume analysis.
Who'd like
Is that
that?
even a thing?
Oh, yeah. It's like having a digital resume guru in your corner. This thing analyzes job descriptions, finds the magic keywords, even checks the tone of your writing, to make sure it sings.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So it's not just what you know, but how you show it. What about those practice interview questions you mentioned?
Okay, so they've got this massive database of interview questions specifically for aspiring crane technicians.
Right.
We're talking everything from the basics to real brain busters about specific crane systems.
Like a sneak peek inside the interviewer's brain.
You got it. They even give you insights into what interviewers are looking for and let you record yourself answering to practice your delivery. Talk about being prepped.
Wow. They've really thought of everything. Okay, so they've got your back when it comes to the job hunt itself. But what stands out to me is how surprisingly diverse this career path seems to be.
Right. It's not just construction. Think about it. Manufacturing plants, shipping yards, mining operations, they all need cranes.
Don't forget renewable energy. You're not putting up those giant wind turbines without some serious crane power.
Exactly. That means crane technician skills can take you all over the place.
So you're not just tied to one industry. You could really branch out, find your niche. Speaking of niches, what are the must-have skills and knowledge for a successful crane technician? What does it take to really thrive?
Well, RoleCatcher is pretty clear. You need a solid foundation in both mechanical and electrical systems. Cranes are fascinating because they're this intricate dance of both, with gears and motors and hydraulics and those complex control panels we talked about.
It's like a giant high-stakes puzzle.
Yeah.
And just like any puzzle, you got to know how it all fits together.
Right on. They emphasize the importance of understanding technical drawings and manuals, being able to troubleshoot electrical gremlins like a pro, and having a knack for using all sorts of tools and not just your basic hammer and nails either.
So it's not just about brawn, it's about brains too.
Absolutely. They also talk about the importance of staying ahead of the tech curve. The crane world is changing fast, with new materials, control systems, and safety features popping up all the time.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change, especially in a field like this. But before we go too far down that road, there's something else that comes to mind. Safety. We're talking about some seriously powerful machines here. Things could go south in a hurry, right?
You're not wrong. Safety is huge. It's woven throughout all the RoleCatcher stuff, and for good reason. Cranes are impressive, no doubt, but they demand respect.
And respect means more than just a hard hat, I'm guessing. What kind of specific safety challenges do crane technicians face?
Well, picture this. You're hundreds of feet up, wrestling with these giant components. Heights alone are one thing, but then throw in wind, rain, maybe it's scorching hot or freezing. Mother Nature doesn't always play nice.
It's a whole other level of workplace hazard, not a job for someone scared of heights.
You got that right. And communication. Critical for safety. Busy construction site, multiple crews, heavy equipment moving around. One miscommunication, and things could go really bad really fast.
It's like a high-stakes ballet almost. Everyone needs to be totally in sync.
Exactly. That's where experience really comes into play. The more time you spend on job sites, the more you develop this kind of sixth sense for potential hazards. It's just second nature.
So it's not just knowing the crane, it's knowing the environment too. Reading those risks, making those split-second decisions.
You nailed it. And speaking of experience, remember how the guide broke down those career stages?
Oh yeah. From rookie to seasoned pro, like a roadmap for the aspiring crane technician.
And they do a great job of really fleshing those stages out. So let's jump back into that roadmap for a sec. Remember that entry-level technician? They're just getting started.
Right, eager to learn, putting in the time.
Exactly, assisting with assembly, handing tools, learning the ropes, building that foundation. But as they level up, they become a junior crane technician.
And that's where they get to really spread their wings, so to speak.
Exactly. They're more independent now, tackling tasks on their own, facing those real-world problems. You might find them assembling entire crane components solo, dealing with those conveyor systems. It's a real test of their skills.
It's like graduating Crane Technician Academy. So what's the next step up?
That would be the full-fledged crane technician. They've paid their dues, honed their skills, and now they're leading the charge. Leading those complex assemblies, troubleshooting the tough technical stuff, overseeing that final assembly on site.
They're like the conductors of the Crane Symphony, making sure it all works together.
Perfect analogy, but the peak, the summit, is that senior crane technician role.
Okay, they've climbed Crane Mountain. What makes them different?
Experience, of course, expertise, and a whole lot of wisdom. They're the ones you go to when you're stumped, the ones who can spot a problem a mile away. Their mentors, guides, their insights literally shape entire projects.
The Crane Whisperer. They just get it.
That's the one. And it's more than just technical skills. It's leadership, it's communication, it's that unwavering focus on safety we talked about. But you know, all this talk about experience, we haven't even touched on how technology is changing the game.
Oh, right. Because this isn't your grandpa's crane anymore. Things are getting high-tech.
Tell me about it. And RoleCatcher really hammers home the need to stay ahead of the curve here. We're talking automation, sophisticated computer systems, even robots. It's changing the industry.
Robots.
Yeah.
Are cranes building themselves now?
Not quite yet. But picture this. Cranes with sensors that can monitor weight distribution, wind speed, even metal fatigue, all in real time.
Like a super smart machine. That doesn't mean humies are out of a job, though, right?
No way. If anything, it creates this demand for a new type of crane technician, one who can work with these advanced systems.
So it's augmenting human ability with technology, a true partnership.
Exactly. And that's why RoleCatcher stresses the importance of being comfortable with tech, of developing those in-demand skills.
So what does that look like in practice? What kind of tech skills are we talking about?
Well, being comfortable with computer systems is a must. You'll be analyzing sensor data, troubleshooting software, maybe even doing some programming.
So it's not just wrenches and hard hats anymore. You might need to know your way around a keyboard, too.
For sure. We're also seeing things like remote monitoring, where technicians can analyze crane performance from miles away.
No more climbing hundreds of feet just to run a diagnostic.
You got it. And then there's predictive maintenance, using algorithms to anticipate problems before they happen to minimize downtime.
Talk about working smarter, not harder. But it's not all about the digital world, is it? You mentioned virtual reality training. I thought that was for gamers.
Not anymore. VR is huge for crane technicians. Imagine stepping into a simulator and operating a crane in all kinds of scenarios, high winds, heavy lifts, you name it, but in a totally safe environment.
Without the fear of, dropping a few tons of steel? Sign me up.
Exactly. It's a great way to build skills, get that muscle memory down, and build confidence before setting foot on a real job site.
It's like a flight simulator for crane operators.
Yeah.
So cool. Technology's not just changing how cranes are made, it's changing how people learn to use them, too.
Right on. And that's why continuous learning is so important in this field. But with all this talk about high tech, there's something else about this career that really appeals to me.
What's that?
It's the global nature of the work.
Right. Cranes are everywhere, which means crane technicians are needed everywhere.
Exactly. Building bridges in Europe, skyscrapers in Asia, wind farms in South America. There are amazing opportunities for crane technicians who are willing to travel.
It's a chance to see the world and contribute to some incredible projects.
Absolutely. It's a chance to broaden your horizons professionally and personally.
So, for someone who's really drawn to this path, what are some concrete steps they can take? How do they turn that interest into a career?
RoleCatcher's got some great advice on this. First off, networking.
It's who you know, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Right.
Reach out to people in the industry. Crane technicians, supervisors, hiring managers. Pick their brains.
You can learn a lot in an hour-long conversation that you won't find in any textbook.
100%. The other thing, of course, is hands-on experience.
Right, because reading about it is one thing.
Doing it is a whole other animal. Look for apprenticeships, internships, even entry-level jobs that'll give you a taste. Get your foot in the door, prove yourself.
Nothing beats getting your hands dirty, right?
Totally. And speaking of hands-on, our dive into RoleCatcher really highlighted the kind of mindset that makes a crane technician tick.
Oh, interesting. So there's more to it than just being mechanically inclined.
For sure. One thing they emphasize is strong spatial reasoning skills.
Ah, that makes sense. You're looking at those complex diagrams, picturing how it all fits together in 3D.
Exactly, like a giant mental puzzle, but instead of little pieces, it's steel beams and hydraulic systems.
Whoa, what other mental gymnastics are we talking about?
Problem solving, big time. Cranes are complex, things go wrong, especially out in the elements. A good crane technician, they live for those aha moments, figuring out a tricky problem, coming up with a creative solution.
Part mechanic, part detective. Love it. Anything else?
Yeah, RoleCatcher really stresses what they call a safety-first mindset. It's more than just the GUIL.
Well, yeah, when a small mistake could mean disaster.
Exactly. It's about respecting the power of these machines, never letting your guard down, no matter how experienced you are.
That constant awareness, that's what keeps everyone safe.
100%. So we've talked skills, tech, safety. It's not easy, but what about the rewards? What makes all that worthwhile?
Right, because there's got to be a real sense of accomplishment there.
Totally. For a lot of crane technicians, it's that feeling of building something real, something you can actually see and touch, knowing you were part of making it happen.
Shaping the skyline, literally.
Exactly. And it's not just skyscrapers and bridges. Crane technicians, they're involved in so many different industries, each one with its own unique challenges and rewards.
Right. We talked about renewable energy. What about putting up those massive wind turbines?
There you go. Or shipbuilding, mining operations, disaster relief. It's a surprisingly diverse field.
You could really find your niche. So it's the work itself, but what about the people? We talked teamwork, but what's the overall culture like?
It's a field where you often work long hours, tough conditions, but that creates a certain bond. You go through it together.
Family almost.
Yeah. You rely on each other, learn from each other, celebrate the wins together. And speaking of wins, the earning potential isn't bad either.
Skilled trades are in high demand.
Yeah, you know it. And as our world needs more infrastructure, more engineering marvels, well, the demand for skilled crane technicians is only going up.
So for anyone listening who's feeling that pull, who's drawn to that challenge,
The skill, the impact.
there's a place for you.
Absolutely.
This has been eye-opening. Really appreciate the insights.
Anytime.
Glad to be here.
And for our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.